Let's begin with the next chapter of parasitology, and those are the flagellates. Now, when I'm talking about flagellates, it's very interesting because I'm going to tell you about an angry uncle and a fashionable auntie. That is how the students have also started learning it, because flagellates include Giardia lamblia, who's the grand old man of the intestine, the grand old angry man of the intestine. So that is Giardia lamblia, and Trichomonas vaginalis is a very fashionable auntie who loves diamonds and strawberries, and that's the story of how we'll be learning these two. So the story shall come eventually. Let's start with our basics. Let us start with Giardia lamblia because that is one of the most common parasitic infections in the world. So you know the importance that this carries for us, right? Apart from that, please note, this is also the most common parasite found in the stool. So if I'm a microbiologist and I'm looking at the stool, highest chances of getting a Giardia lamblia is what I would be seeing. And of course, now you would ask me where in the intestine or what kind of a diarrhea does it cause? So it's going to be most commonly found in the duodenum. What was I calling it? I was calling him a grand old man of the intestine, na Dadaji. So grand old man of the intestine matlab Dadaji, and that is why it is found in the duodenum. So remember Dadaji, the grand old man, that is geriatric Giardia, is found in the duodenum. Now you will ask me the different stages and everything associated with it. So the infective stage, of course, will always be the cyst. Till now, infective stage is going mostly of the cyst, except for that Naegleria fowleri where foul play occurred with trophozoite. Otherwise, till here it is all going by cyst. If you ask me the infective dose, come on, I'm not going to tell you that because it has a very small infective dose. Only 10 to 25 cysts are okay to cause infection. Why? Because if you remember, guys, there was the small infectivity dose ka mnemonic. Do you guys remember? Quick revision. There was a mnemonic called Chota Small. I'm not writing it again. We've done it in detail. What is C? Cryptosporidium. H for Entamoeba histolytica. H for enterohemorrhagic E. coli. S for Shigella. And Lam for lamblia. So Giardia lamblia also has a small infectivity dose. Where is it going to go? It's going to go into the duodenum. But how did it reach the duodenum? We ended up eating it. Something going into my duodenum is always going through the mouth only, right? So it's the feco-oral route which is very, very important. So now let me show you this entire life cycle. Like I said, in the life cycle, make it a habit. First, you will pick up what? You will pick up the host, and the host over here is only human. Rest everything is happening in the environment. And I am having some contaminated food and water, which I can see over here. And what is going to be ingested by us? What is the infective form? So that is the cyst. Fine. Again, first the cyst is going to go out, matlab there's going to be excistation. So I can see that this is one Giardia that has been drawn in front of us. You will say the first point is that when I've eaten it, this cyst is now going to change into the trophozoite. So how are all these things going to attach to my duodenum? What does it have? God has given it some very, very important structures which help in attachment. How does Giardia lamblia attach to the intestine? Remember, there is something known as a sucking disc and an antigen. These are the two things that have been given by God. Repeating once again, there is a sucking, or suckling is also how some books mention, but most books mention it as sucking disc. Please remember, most books mention it as sucking disc. So sucking disc or suckling disc as well as the lectin antigen, these are the two things that the organism has attached onto the duodenum by. Now you will say that fine, there are going to be trophozoites. The trophozoites are going to now divide. So what did you take in? You took in the cyst form. What did cyst change into? The cyst has changed into the trophozoite. Trophozoite will start dividing. Fine. After that, more cysts and more trophozoites will form. That is none of my concern. My concern is after is that it has attached to the intestine. Which part of the intestine? Duodenum of the intestine. I will ask you, what is it going to cause? Duodenum matlab small intestine, na? So think logically. If I'm talking about the small intestine means it has villi. So first I'll write over here that I'm talking about the duodenum. Now duodenum, say if something goes and gets attached, if this Giardia goes and gets attached onto the duodenum, you will say it will destroy these villi. What is going to happen? There is blunting of the villi that is noted. Please note, this results in blunting. Blunting matlab aisa flattening. There is blunting of the villi that are noted, and duodenum effect hua matlab what is not going to get absorbed? iron deficiency anemia hoga. There is IDA, iron will not get absorbed because duodenum is affected. One more thing, because the duodenum is affected, there is another deficiency that the patient lands up with, and that is disaccharidase deficiency. Disaccharidase enzyme deficiency is also noted because of duodenum. So you'll say simple, duodenum gaya, dadaji duodenum. So duodenum gone, so deficiency hua iron ka, disaccharidase is also not going to be there. But overall I realize everything is not going to be there. Means if the intestine is getting affected, you will say ultimately ma'am, fat, proteins, vitamins, iron, everything will stop getting absorbed. This means my patient is going to land up with a classical malabsorption. That is, what all have I told you? There could be disaccharidase deficiency, there could be iron deficiency, even later on after the duodenum, if it attacks the ileum and the jejunum, there could be vitamin B12 and folic acid deficiency also. Other than that, there could be a protein deficiency. Overall, I am saying that there is a situation of malabsorption that has occurred. Why? Because those villi have now been blunted. Blunting of the villi, flattening of the villi has happened. But go back to your medicine, go back to your pathology. What is the hallmark of malabsorption? The hallmark of malabsorption is that fat does not get absorbed. All the fat will start going out into the stool. So what is the patient going to clinically present with? The hallmark of malabsorption, that is steatorrhea. Patient doesn't come to you and say, no, that I am passing stools with steatorrhea. No. Patient comes to you saying that I am having bulky, frothy, foul smelling stools. All the FFF, bulky, frothy, foul smelling and difficult to flush. The patient will say that I am trying to flush, but the stools do not get flushed, or they stick to the pot, they stick to the pan. So remember, the frothy, foul smelling, difficult to flush wala stools tell me that there is what? Why did I say all FFF? Because that means that there is fat that is present. So many students have a confusion that Giardia lamblia leads to that bloody diarrhea, or does it lead to fatty diarrhea? So I hope all of you have heard there's a very famous chocolate, especially you get it in USA, the Ghirardelli chocolate. So remember, Ghirardelli is reminding me of Giardia. So I'll call it Ghirardelli. Okay, so Ghirardelli is going to be Giardia, and chocolates are obviously fatty. So remember, Ghirardelli is how I have learned it. So Ghirardelli means fat. So that is how you will learn that Giardia mein fatty hota hai. Giardia mein there is going to be fatty stools. This is a very famous one of your Bible books, First Aid. From First Aid only this mnemonic is there, because obviously it's made in the USA, so they made a mnemonic as per their own chocolates, right? So remember, Ghirardelli, Giardia, fatty stools. Now coming back, so blood nahi hoga is what I want to tell you. So coming back, now your cycle tells me what was the infective form. It was the cyst. How did you get it? By eating. Where did it go? It went to the duodenum. Trophozoite and cyst dono bana, and then both of them are coming out in the feces. So you will realize that the stool sample that you're going to see eventually, that will have the trophozoite and the cyst. But who will survive in the environment? It is only the cyst that survives in the environment. Only the cyst that is going to survive in the environment, and that is what will eventually come back to us. Life cycle being done, let's go on to the next part, and that is the lab diagnosis. So sample kya loge? Of course ma'am, no points, no doubts about it. I will take the stool sample. Stool sample might show you the trophozoite and cyst. Stool sample might not show you the trophozoite and cyst. Abhi ke liye I am assuming stool sample, the fatty stools, they have shown me trophozoite and cyst. So of course the next question will be, how does the microscopy come across? Of course you will see one trophozoite, and now comes the story of the angry old man. So please note, these are the pictures that you have to know. What you have over here is the very famous trophozoite of Giardia lamblia, and what you have over here is the cyst form. So tell me first thing, why did you call him the grand old man of the intestine? So what are you calling him? You are calling him the grand old angry man of the intestine. Okay, so firstly, the purpose of calling him grand old, I made Dadaji. Dadaji will go to the duodenum. Okay, after that we are calling him a man. So every man has two eyes. So two eyes matlab the trophozoite has how many nuclei? The trophozoite are going to have two nuclei. Fine. And why did I call him a grand old man? Because he has a beard, but old person has less hair na, to chota thoda beard he has. And can you see? You can see a total of 4 pairs of flagella. This is 4 pairs of flagella that you see over here. 4 pairs. Remember, this is how the examiner confuses you. Either he will write 4 pairs, or he will write 4 into 2 8 total. So remember, has he asked you the total number or has he asked you in pairs? Read that much information carefully. And why am I calling him angry? Because you can overall see na, it's like a convex. It's coming, so it's looking like a little angry wala face. Hai na? So it's going to have that convexity. That is why they call it what? Lots of names given to it. They say that this can look like a pear-shaped organism. This can look like a tennis racket organism. So lots and lots of names and shapes that are given, right? Okay, this was the trophozoid. So it has 2 eyes just like a man, and it is going to have this 4 pairs of flagella. But how is it attaching? You'll see in the starting it also has to have that sucking disc. Of course, that is how it was attaching to the Dadaji, that is the duodenum. So that is how the attachment was occurring, by the sucking disc. Now let's move on to the cyst form. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many nuclei do you see over here? In the cyst, I see 1 to 4 nuclei and I don't see any flagella. Cyst mein flagella does not come out. In cyst, the flagella is not going to come out. You can see the flagella is basically remaining inside, and that is known as the axonemes or the axostyles. When the flagella tends to stay inside, that is known as the axostyles. It's not coming outside. It is coming outside only in the trophozoid, where it's looking like a man. So coming back, this is how exactly your trophozoid and cyst form is going to look like, provided you could see it in a stool sample. You say that, ma'am, I have done 3 consecutive day stool samples. I did 3 consecutive day stool samples, but I did not see the trophozoid and the cyst. But I know this is a case of Giardia, lamblia, malabsorption, steatorrhea hai. What can I do now? I'll say, where is he sitting? If he's not coming out into the stools, where is the Dadaji sitting? He's sitting in the duodenum. So try to get him in the duodenum. For that, you will now need duodenal contents. How can I get contents from the duodenum? There are 2 ways. Either I do something known as a string test. String test matlab, I'm going to have a string. I can see that string over here. And I'm going to put it into the intestine, duodenum. So that is why I call it an entero test. Because before I start with this, I want all of you to recall there was another string test, or in fact, there are 2 string tests which I have taught you way back in your bacteriology also. There is a string test that you do for Vibrio cholera. There is also a string test that you do for Klebsiella pneumoniae. Klebsiella also has a string test. I am not talking about those string tests. They are totally different. What I am talking about is the string test that you do for Giardia, because the string tests over there, what we were doing were microbiology tests. This is something that I'm going to put inside the patient. You know what I'm going to do? I will have a capsule over here. I will have a capsule over here, and that capsule will have this string or this thread attached. What do you do with capsules? You will tell the patient, just swallow it like any other paracetamol, just swallow this capsule. Where will this capsule go? This capsule will go down into the duodenum, and the capsule is then going to dissolve. So now you will say that, imagine the string is in your hand over here, and with that string, the capsule has gone. So one end of the string is in your hand, one end of the string is in the duodenum. After some time, you're going to pull the string out. So can I say that the string is going to have the duodenal contents, and those duodenal contents I can definitely see on microscopic examination. So basically, capsule was a dhokha. Capsule was just to swallow the string. One end of the string is in your hand, one end of the string has gone in with the capsule. So the string over here is now going to get you all of the duodenal contents, and you can look at it. You can find the trophozoites over there, right? Okay, everyone's okay with this. This was one way of getting the duodenal contents. Till now, whatever you have studied, let's look at it under the microscope. Let's take a test. Can you identify which form is this? Pehle to organism, you'll say, this I'll never forget. The grand old man, the grand old angry man of the intestine. The man will tell me that, of course, there are 2 nuclei, so ye wo grand old angry man hai. And apart from that, you can see some flagella, that beard also coming out. So this is definitely the trophozoid form. Whether you saw it in the stool sample or you saw it in the duodenal sample, this is the trophozoid form that you had. But you will say that, ma'am, string test par bhi nahi aaya. Stool pe bhi nahi aaya, string test pe bhi nahi aaya. What are the other things that I can do? Maybe I can get a little bit, although not very commonly done, but maybe I can go a little bit into pathology and do a duodenal biopsy. What will I see on a duodenal biopsy? So please note that Giardia lamblia, listen to this story very carefully. Giardia lamblia is not only an angry old man, he's a girta hua man, number 1. And secondly, he's a man who is falling in the lumen, means this is a luminal organism. And you can very well see over here that what this is the intestine, but the organism is seen hanging in the lumen. The organism is seen hanging in the lumen. You'll say, ma'am, hang on. Right now you said the organism was supposed to look like a pear or that tennis racket, but now it's not. Because if I show you a tennis racket like this, it will look like a tennis racket. But if I turn the tennis racket like this, it will look like a sickle. So what do you see? You see sickle-shaped organisms in the lumen. You see sickle-shaped organisms that are present in the lumen. Remember Giardia, lamblia, you have to know lamblia, matlab it is going to be the luminal organism. And why did I say girta hua man? Because it is going to show you which motility. It shows you the very, very famous falling leaf motility. Very important for us to know. So firstly, Giardia is going to be the girta hua man. So girta hua man basically tells you that yes, I will see the falling leaf. Okay, so falling leaf motility of the girta hua man, and you've also seen the duodenal contents. What all can you see? For every parasite, you can do antigen antibody testing. So you will do that with ELISA. And gold standard to hamesha genetics. So the gold standard shall always remain polymerase chain reaction. There is no doubt about it. The full girta hua story is done for us. Now I can probably show you a set of more images. They call testing time. What is this? This is the most beautiful picture that I got on the internet. You can see that very well. You have the angry old man. This is the trophozoite. Passed in the test? Yes. What is this? This you will say, and many students have a problem in identifying it. That ma'am, how will I identify this is the cyst of Giardia lamblia? Because firstly, let me tell you, thoda sa long cyst hoga. Abhi tak whatever I'm showing you is all round. This is a little long, and you will be able to see the 4 nuclei also somewhere inside it. You will be able to see the 4 nuclei, and that axostyle, the flagella are not coming out. So ye photo kahin na kahin you will have to mug up as it is, that this is the photo of Giardia lamblia, because the same picture you will see in all your grand tests. Please remember, the drug of choice can either be metronidazole, and nowadays a lot of people are showing resistance to metronidazole, and also it's a longer therapy, so you can give a single dose of tinidazole also. So metronidazole or tinidazole is what we are gonna give. The angry old man is done. Telling you a quick recap of this story that we had for the angry old man.